A violinist is suing Will Smith, claiming retaliation after he alleges that he was fired for reporting harassment while on tour with Smith. Brian King Joseph filed the lawsuit in California earlier this week, accusing Smith of deliberately grooming him for sexual exploitation.
We're watching something almost unthinkable unfold, a moment where the untouchable facade of Hollywood's golden boy seems to be cracking in real time. In the span of weeks, whispers have turned into filings, and filings are now sounding like sirens. The actor once celebrated for charm and box office has been drawn into allegations that have shifted from gossip to legal firestorm. Behind the polished premieres and social media smiles, federal scrutiny looms larger than ever, with the FBI reportedly collecting information on him for years. Sources familiar with the case say that what began as isolated rumors has morphed into a pattern of legal exposure that now threatens arrest. As we peel back each layer, the stakes are unmistakable and rising faster than anyone expected.
Yeah, Kate, so according to the complaint, this all happened in March of last year while the violinist was on tour with Will Smith for Smith's global tour for his latest album based on a true story. And according to the complaint, there was this intrusion at his Las Vegas hotel room. He came back to his hotel, he says, and found that there was no forced entry, but that someone had entered the room and left a number of items there.
It was the end of December in LA when the first public push came, when Brian King Joseph, a professional violinist best known to many from America's Got Talent, filed a lawsuit that reads more like a thriller. Joseph alleges he was brought into the orbit of a massive global tour, offered access and opportunity, only to find himself at the center of a cascade of alleged misconduct that culminated in what he describes as predatory behavior rather than professional mentorship. According to documents obtained by multiple outlets, after joining the artist's 2025 World Tour in Las Vegas, Joseph returned to his hotel room to find evidence suggesting someone had entered without permission. Among the items left behind was a handwritten note addressed to him by name, reading, "Brian, I'll be back no later than 5:30, just us with a heart and signed Stone F." The specificity of that moment, the unsettling detail, is exactly what makes this different from a stray accusation.
Getting fired or getting blamed or shamed or threatened or anything like that, simply for reporting sexual misconduct or safety threats at work, is not okay.
When Joseph reported the incident to hotel security and subsequently to the tour's management team, what he expected was protection. What he says he received instead was blame. In the complaint, Joseph alleges that rather than address his concerns and investigate, the management team shifted blame onto him, ultimately terminating his role on the tour. The official reason given, insiders say, was vague, but the timing, immediately after his report, raises questions about whether reputational fear trumped straightforward inquiry. The lawsuit states that another violinist was promptly hired to fill his position, which Joseph's legal team argues strongly suggests the termination was pretextual. For years, Hollywood has seen talent disputes and creative differences spill into headlines, but this sequence, rich with particular details and abrupt professional fallout, is the kind of narrative that fuels deeper scrutiny, especially when whispered patterns begin to emerge. Joseph didn't just file paperwork. He shared a video on social media just days before his complaint was officially lodged on December 30th.
Very ominous signs for him, although interestingly, we haven't seen the indictments yet. There's been some time lag. I suppose it will take some time to go through all the forensic, evidence.
In that video, he alluded to the opportunity and subsequent disappointment, making clear that his choice to speak out stemmed not from grievance alone, but from a wider sense that people have been afraid to come forward. That sense of collective fear, the idea that there could be others holding back, is the spark that has struck fear into many insiders. The company representing the artist has issued statements calling the allegations false and reckless, vowing to use all legal means available to defend their client. That's standard in high-profile litigation, but the fact that this case is already drawing more attention suggests this is more than a simple denial mounted by seasoned public relations teams. Behind closed doors, sources tell us that those same teams are quietly preparing for more trouble. Industry insiders claim that several more individuals are preparing to file suits, hinting that Joseph's complaint might be the first of many. If that is true, the legal landscape quickly shifts from one isolated issue into what could become a class action avalanche. Add to that the long-rumored FBI interest, and you have a situation where celebrity status may no longer provide cover, only spotlight.
Sean Diddy Combs is facing new assault allegations. The LA Sheriff's Department says that it's investigating a report from an alleged victim in Florida. That alleged victim has identified himself as music producer Jonathan Hay in social media posts that have since been removed. A spokesperson for Combs has not responded to ABC News' request for comment.
Those who have watched how federal investigations unfold in entertainment circles know that once the FBI begins gathering data with sustained focus, it rarely stops at mere observation. What makes this even more extraordinary is the shadow cast by another collapse. The fall of Sean Combs, once hip-hop royalty, now serving time after being found guilty of transporting individuals for intimate gatherings, has sent shockwaves through celebrity circles. Combs' legal battles, which included raids by the Department of Homeland Security and hundreds of lawsuits alleging a spectrum of abusive behavior, have already reset expectations about accountability for powerful entertainers.
With a civil case, it's a much lower standard of a preponderance of the evidence, or in more layman's terms, more likely than not, the measurement we as attorneys typically use for that is 51%. And so for a civil case, you're just saying, hey, is there a 51% chance that Sean Combs allegedly committed these acts? If so, he would be liable. In the federal case, which was criminal, that was proof beyond a reasonable doubt, where he was found guilty of those two counts you mentioned earlier, and is serving a 50-month sentence in Fort Dix, New Jersey.
Observers familiar with both cases say there is chatter inside entertainment legal corridors, linking the scrutiny that fell on Combs with the federal interest now hitting Smith. Not in terms of guilt, but in terms of the deepening appetite within law enforcement to probe Hollywood elites in ways that would have been unthinkable just a few years ago. We should be clear, there are no official charges against Smith yet. But the combination of detailed allegations from Joseph, the broader hint at multiple potential plaintiffs, and the long-term federal data collection creates a picture that is as serious as any we've seen in celebrity legal history. If the FBI has been accumulating threads of information for years as sources close to the case claim, then what we're seeing now may be just the surface unraveling.
Tick tock, the clock is ticking on Diddy, because on Friday he finds out what his sentence is going to be, but today he found out what prosecutors would like that sentence to be, and it is vastly different from what his attorneys have suggested to the judge. Prosecutors want him to do 11 years, just over 11 years.
This is not mere gossip. It is a carefully plotted escalation, a legal pressure build that feels increasingly like a countdown to something seismic. Public responses have been cautious but telling. Attorneys for Smith have slammed the allegations as baseless and vowed aggressive defense strategies. But in the court of public opinion, the narrative has already shifted. Where once praise dominated headlines, now skepticism and concern are louder. Social media is rife with speculation, not just about the specifics of Joseph's claim, but about what unnamed others might have experienced. Those conversations stretch beyond simple disagreement over one incident. They suggest a possible pattern, and people are connecting dots in ways that look ominous for Smith's camp. What stands out most about this moment is how quickly it escalated. Less than a year ago, the question in entertainment circles was whether Smith's onstage altercation at a major awards show had done any lasting damage to his brand. Now, the conversation has turned to whether he could face arrest and criminal charges. That kind of shift, from public relations problem to potential legal jeopardy, is rare, and it demands attention.
This accuser says he's already listed as John Doe in a civil case against Combs. So talk about how that could impact this investigation now that he's also has identified himself too.
Yeah, so the only impact that I can see on this investigation will now be that law enforcement will know who to speak with. But he already reached out to law enforcement in Florida that's been working in conjunction with LA, where the alleged crime has occurred.
The narrative has moved from rumor to lawsuit, from lawsuit to suggestion of multiple pending claims, and now to whispers of federal attention that may go beyond civil courtrooms into criminal inquiry. We do not say this lightly. If the FBI's interest is more than casual, if the data it has collected over years is as substantial as insiders are indicating, then we may be witnessing the early stages of one of the most explosive unravelings of a Hollywood titan in decades. The implications are breathtaking. A figure once synonymous with mainstream appeal could find themselves facing not just reputational damage, but real legal peril. It's the kind of scenario that shifts the entire cultural conversation about accountability, power, and the limits of celebrity privilege. And yet, in the midst of this, there are deeper layers still to explore, questions that go beyond the immediate headlines. If Smith's situation is evolving in parallel to Combs' legal odyssey, what does that say about the mechanisms that protect or expose the powerful? Who else might be waiting in the wings, ready to step forward? And how much longer can the system sustain silence around these swirling allegations before something even more consequential breaks? The next chapter in this story is already being written behind closed doors, and as more pieces fall into place, the public narrative is likely to shift again in ways that few are prepared for.
Attorney, what you want you want the best attorneys you can have in there, and it really, I know you want to, like we said, appearances matter, but you want to win this case, and you need, like you said, it's harder for them.
As we watch this unfold, the one certainty is that nothing about this scandal has reached its final act. The noise hasn't faded, it's only changed pitch. The frenzy that began as shock has hardened into something colder, heavier. We're not just watching one celebrity scramble to contain a lawsuit anymore. We're seeing threads pulled from the same expensive fabric that once dressed an entire generation of stars. The same names keep reappearing, the same circles, the same after-hours connections that insiders quietly refer to as the network. It's the network that blurred the line between favor and silence, between invitation and initiation. When one piece falls, like Diddy, it doesn't just leave a gap, it exposes who else might have been sitting too close to the edge. After Diddy's conviction for transporting individuals for illicit purposes, the gossip around his private gatherings became darker and more organized in tone.
Continued to engage in all these freak-offs with him, and he sounds really pissed off.
Hey, I really don't know what's going on with you, but I just want to just give you a heads up that I'm about to really disappear on you. You feel me? I'm not going to be playing these games with you at all, at all. So I don't know, you think you silent treating me, and you think I'm gonna be, nah, you'll have a rude awakening. You'll just have silence.
Those infamous freak-off sessions, the tapes, the whispered lists of who attended, they've now become cautionary tales across Hollywood. And what we're hearing is that the federal investigation into those events didn't end when Diddy went to prison. It expanded. A source close to one of the attorneys involved told us that several names of interest were flagged for review. High-profile entertainers who had crossed paths with Diddy's parties or shared management links with his network. Among those names, according to the whispers, was Will Smith. No confirmation from the authorities, but when even the possibility enters the conversation, that's enough to shake every publicist in town. The link between them goes back decades. Both men were symbols of their eras: charm, power, control. But their worlds intersected behind the curtain where influence traded places with loyalty. People forget how tight the entertainment community once was between Diddy's empire and Smith's circle. Charity events, music collaborations, overlapping management teams. It's not proof of guilt, but in the city, proximity is everything. When Diddy fell, the shockwaves didn't just hit music, they rattled film and streaming too. Those same investigators who traced his financial roots are rumored to have mapped communication webs. Who called who attended which events, and who quietly disappeared from public photos when the first raids began. And that brings us to the other half of the story, the people who started stepping away. Look at the timeline, the silence from longtime collaborators, the cancellations, the sudden PR reshuffles that happened the same week Joseph's lawsuit went public. Smith's allies have been distancing themselves in subtle but unmistakable ways.
That Bilal says that Jada went up to him at a party back in November 2021.
Even Jada Pinkett Smith, his estranged partner, hasn't publicly defended him since the filing. Instead, she's been busy promoting her memoir, revealing years of separation and painting a picture of a marriage that had fractured long before the world realized it. The emotional disconnect between them now reads almost prophetic, as though she had already started moving out of the blast zone. Her own controversies have only added fuel to the fire. That explosive confession about an entanglement with musician August Alsina, the open talk about trust, boundaries, and private freedom, all of it has been reread in this new context. The internet is full of side-by-side clips, interviews dissected frame by frame. Was she hinting at deeper secrets? Was she trying to warn the world that what looked like eccentricity might have been damage control? We can't say for sure, but the effect is undeniable. Every old quote now feels heavier, every revelation less like gossip and more like evidence in plain sight. The same goes for Dwayne Martin. The friendship between Smith and Martin, long a subject of rumor, has been thrust back into the spotlight after Smith's former assistant, known as Brother Bilal, claimed he witnessed something inappropriate between them years ago. Both actors have dismissed those claims, but the damage was done the moment the allegation hit social media.
Will was bent over on the couch and Dwayne was standing up. Like, there was murder in there.
Fans began revisiting the old stories, the $1 million loan, the years of collaboration, the long vacations, and wondering whether that loyalty was financial, personal, or something else entirely. The entertainment world thrives on innuendo, and when personal relationships mix with business ties, everything becomes combustible. What makes this moment uniquely dangerous for Smith is that it no longer feels like isolated scandal. It feels systemic. The same kind of hush money stories, the same use of NDA agreements, the same legal phrasing we saw in Diddy's downfall are echoing here. Former crew members have quietly told reporters that Smith's company, Treyball Studios, operated with an inner circle few could penetrate. Once you were in, you stayed silent, because that was the culture. That was how reputations stayed clean. One insider described it as a fortress of positivity, a phrase that now sounds more like a defense strategy than an inspirational motto. Meanwhile, behind the curtain, power brokers are panicking. Studios are scrubbing old contracts, insurers are checking exposure clauses, and legal departments are running background audits on anyone remotely tied to Diddy's orbit. It's as if Hollywood itself has started disinfecting its image before another public implosion arrives. If the federal files really do contain communications between Smith's team and any of Diddy's affiliates, that alone could drag multiple corporate entities into scrutiny. And that's what terrifies them most. Not the scandal, but the paperwork trail. We have to remember, this isn't the first time a major figure has faced a legal landslide after years of quiet warnings.
And I think Sam Bankman-Fried were in the unit that was one floor above mine. So in terms of like the setting, it's a fairly decent chance that the room I'm describing is similar to where Diddy is.
The same pattern appeared before Diddy's conviction. The slow drip of allegations, the denials, the sudden shift in tone once the first witness stepped forward. Now that Joseph's lawsuit exists on record, with documentation and timestamps, there's a sense that the dominoes have started to tip. The FBI rarely comments on ongoing investigations, but insiders claim that agents have revisited old entertainment accounts from 2019 to 2023, the same period when Diddy's social gatherings were under surveillance. Whether Smith's name appears in those files is anyone's guess, but the timing is too close to ignore. Even in the entertainment press, which once treated Smith as untouchable, the language has changed. The headlines have grown cautious. His next projects, once announced with fanfare, now arrive with quiet uncertainty. Directors are reportedly asking for moral clauses in contracts. Streaming platforms are freezing promotional budgets. No one wants to be the last one standing next to a collapsing figure. For a man who built his career on control, on likability, on invincibility, this loss of narrative may be the hardest blow of all. We're watching a cultural reset in slow motion. Diddy's empire crumbled under the weight of footage and testimony. Now, Smith faces a different kind of exposure: emotional, psychological, reputational. And yet, what we're hearing from legal analysts is that these are not just moral reckonings. They're systemic recalibrations. The entertainment world protected its icons for decades through silence, fear, and the illusion of charm. That illusion is cracking, and the noise is deafening.
Are you concerned that Sean Diddy Combs could be sexually assaulted, violently assaulted? Is that a thing? Because based on what was said in court, it feels like a thing.
The question now is not whether Smith can clear his name. It's whether anyone in that upper tier of celebrity can withstand the new kind of transparency that the digital era demands. Old power structures are collapsing. Private behavior is no longer private. And when investigators start connecting circles instead of individuals, entire careers can fall with a single link. If the rumors are right, and multiple new plaintiffs are preparing to come forward, then this story is only beginning its descent. We can feel it. The tension in Hollywood isn't just about one man. It's about everyone who thought the rules didn't apply to them. Diddy's conviction proved that federal reach doesn't stop at red carpets. Smith's lawsuit may prove that the same playbook of secrecy and silence can no longer hold. Behind every public smile, there's panic now, and it's spreading fast. And as we wait for the next filing, the next leak, or the next unexpected witness, one question hangs in the air like a countdown. If Diddy was the warning shot, is Will Smith the next fall waiting to happen? Or are there even bigger names hiding behind the curtain, still untouched but already trembling? Whatever comes next, it's not over. Not by a long shot. So, what do you think? Is this the moment Hollywood finally turns on its own, or just another cycle of denial before the next storm breaks? Tell us what you see coming, because one thing's certain, the silence won't last forever. Until next time, stay sharp, stay curious, and keep your eyes on the lights. They're flickering for a reason.